I'd like to start out with just a brief thought, and we consider this to be the most important formula that for nonprofit information management, and it's OO plus NT equals EOO. And that stands for old organization plus new technology equals expensive old organization. So the message here is that organizations that think technology will solve all of their ills usually set themselves up for information management failure. A good information management is born out of a good culture, and successful nonprofit cultures focus on all 5 of the key areas of information management that we'll be talking about today, of which technology is only one and the last of the 5. So today we hope to share with you some information management keys that you can use to help improve your own projects, as well as to use as talking points with others in your organization when you are trying to advocate for good information management practices. So first we just want to talk about what information management is. And it's as simple as it sounds. It's the management of information, data, and the knowledge derived from it. A lot of people think about data as something that's in a table format in an Excel spreadsheet, and it is that. And information is inclusive of that, but also your more qualitative information, sort of your documents, your reports, other things that are extrapolated from data and used to tell the story of the organization. It could include media assets, etc. Could include constituent data. And most of the information today is managed either between our ears or within information systems. So information management is just that. It's the management of information. And there are 5 keys to information management. And these are they: leadership, operations, processes, data, and technology. And we're just going to briefly talk about each of those in turn, and then we'll spend the rest of the time on your questions. So leadership is critical to good information management. When leadership is engaged in setting the vision and strategy and making key decisions, it's typical that information management projects go much more smoothly. And we've seen this time and time again as projects tend to improve or decline based on the level of leadership engagement. So one example is we worked with a nonprofit client over 18 months on a major information management initiative. And progress and success tend to relate directly to the leadership's commitment to participating and making key decisions at critical times. When that was happening, everything went really smoothly. And that when it wasn't happening, the attention of the organization tended to wander. So it's important that the leadership understand the importance of their visible role inside of information management projects. Operations is the next key, and we are talking here mostly about people, project management, and communications. So you have to have the right people on the bus. Be sure to have good project planning and management, and particularly time management. One of the things that we tend to see as being common in nonprofits is that it's assumed, practically speaking, that everybody's time is infinite. So that can cause a lot of time crunch and attention deficit disorder during information management projects as the information project is competing with other interests for people's time, and it's impossible to get everything done. So really estimating the amount of time that it's going to take to realistically complete an information management initiative and getting people's buy-in and commitment to that time is important. And communications, of course, is always key. We worked with a national nonprofit that made sure to have the right people involved, sound project organization, and thorough communications, and they had a lot of success in their information management practices. And making real commitments to that, not just in word, but in action, is really important. And I'm sure there are plenty of questions about who are the right people to include and how to create a project management process for information management projects within an organization that's not really project-centric, and I'm sure we can get into those later on. So processes are really important, and a lot of people think about process design or documentation. It's more than just coming up with the best way to do something. Sure, you have to have sufficient documentation of the processes, but above all, executing the processes consistently is what's important. It's one thing to agree on a standard process while everyone's in the conference room, and another to actually put it into practice when everyone's back at their desk. So when you're trying to do data collection, it's really important to have everyone following the same processes. Otherwise, the data loses its integrity very quickly. So you want to design the processes and document them for sure, but execution is key. And then data must be consistently collected. It has to be well organized and maintained over time, and above all, it has to be used. So organizations have to do all four of those things well with data in order to have an effective information management environment. So if we've had a number of occasions at different clients where there have been one or more problems in each area, but I'm just going to focus on using the data for the moment. You know, organizations will have information that they don't even know that they have, or the entire organization at least isn't aware. So there'll be information available for the asking. Maybe it's in a system, hopefully it is, but people aren't always using it to make decisions. I remember reading a survey of nonprofits in the United Kingdom a couple years back that said over 80% of nonprofit organizations collected some data about the impact of their programs, and only 6% actually use that data to inform their decision-making processes. So that's kind of a stark analysis. It's definitely something that's getting better over time as organizations get better at data collection. But a lot of emphasis is sometimes placed on data collection and not enough on using it effectively, and that's where the payoff is for the collection. So understanding how to use data once you have it is important. And then finally we get to technology, the shiny toys. Technology really needs to be aligned to the four prior keys. If the technology doesn't serve the vision of the organization as expressed by leadership, if it's not consistent with the operational practices of the organization and well supported, if it doesn't reflect the processes that the organization needs to conduct in order to be successful in its mission, and if it doesn't serve to properly collect, maintain, organize, and use data, then it's pointless. So new technology will, for the most part, not make up what is lacking in other areas of information management. And ultimately, technology is great, and it can be fun to implement, at least for technology folks, perhaps not for other people so much. And it can do amazing things, but you really have to get all of your ducks in a row. So I'm just going to conclude the talking part, or the presentation part of this webinar, by emphasizing to what extent the last two of these, data and technology, are dependent on the first three. And again, we talked about the importance of leadership and operations and processes, and how the consistent application of processes, well-founded operational practices and great leadership are critical to having effective data and using it and leveraging technology to do that. So if you don't have the first three right, your odds of getting the latter two right are really difficult proposition. So there's an episode that we could do for each one of these areas. Today's goal was just to give a brief overview in as short a period of time as possible, to just start those seeds of ideas building in the minds of our audience today. and really just to take the time to answer your questions. Um, it's one thing to talk about doing these things and present them on paper, but quite another to figure out how to apply them within your own organization's culture. So that's where I'm going to leave it for now, and happy to dive into any one of these areas with any questions that you guys might have.